You wake up and before your day even begins, the weight is already there. Not just physical tiredness, but a deeper exhaustion that comes from knowing exactly what awaits you. The same responsibilities, the same pressures, the same effort that will be required again today, just as it was yesterday. You already know that no matter how much energy you give, no matter how disciplined or focused you are, the work will not be finished forever. When the day ends, it will reset, waiting for you again. Imagine living like this every single day. Imagine knowing with certainty that your task has no final completion. You give everything you have to it, your strength, your focus, your time, and yet there is no permanent victory waiting at the end. Only repetition, only effort, only the demand to show up again. This is not just an idea. This was the punishment of Sisyphus, a figure from Greek mythology. He was condemned to push a massive boulder up a steep hill for eternity. Each time he came close to the top, the stone would roll back down, erasing all his progress. He was forced to begin again, endlessly, without reward, without rest, without escape. At first, this sounds like the cruelest fate imaginable. Endless effort without resolution feels like the definition of suffering. But if you pause for a moment, the story becomes uncomfortable for a different reason. Because this is not just a myth. This is your life. Every day follows a familiar pattern. You wake up. You handle responsibilities that never truly disappear. You solve problems that return in new forms. You work toward goals that, once reached, are immediately replaced by new expectations. You push forward, and then you do it again. The cycle does not end. Only the details change. Most people accept this without question. They tell themselves that meaning exists somewhere in the future, after the next achievement, after the next milestone, after things finally slow down. But that moment rarely arrives. The effort continues, the pressure remains, and quietly, a sense of restlessness begins to grow. This is what philosophers call living on autopilot. You function, you stay busy, you meet expectations. But you are not fully present in your own life. Days pass quickly, weeks blur together. And beneath it all, there is a persistent feeling that something is missing, even when everything appears fine on the surface. This discomfort is not a flaw in you. It is a signal. It is the awareness that effort alone does not guarantee meaning. That repetition without understanding leads to emptiness. And that waiting for life to feel complete is a losing game. The modern world tells you that happiness comes from results, from outcomes, from reaching the top of the hill. But the truth is simpler and more unsettling. There is no final summit where effort ends. There is no moment where the struggle permanently disappears. The real question is not how to escape the boulder. The real question is how to push it without losing yourself. This is where the philosophy of Albert Camus changes everything. He looked at the story of Sisyphus and reached a conclusion that seems almost impossible at first. He said that we must imagine Sisyphus happy. Not because the task becomes easier, not because the outcome changes, but because once Sisyphus accepts the reality of his situation, once he stops hoping for the boulder to stay at the top, he becomes free. The effort no longer humiliates him. It defines him. This is the absurd secret to motivation. You do not find strength by escaping struggle. You find it by understanding why you continue despite it. When Albert Camus spoke about the absurd, he was not talking about chaos or nonsense. He was describing a tension that exists at the center of every human life. On one side is your deep desire for meaning, clarity, and purpose. On the other side is a universe that offers no explanations, no guarantees, and no final answers. You ask why you must struggle, why effort is required, why life feels repetitive, and the universe does not respond. Most people cannot accept this silence. When they encounter it, they look for ways to escape. Some fall into despair. They decide that if life has no ultimate meaning, then nothing matters. Motivation fades. Discipline weakens. Life becomes something to get through rather than something to engage with. Others choose illusion. They cling to beliefs or systems that promise everything will make sense later, that suffering will be rewarded somewhere beyond the present moment. This can be comforting, but it comes at the cost of honesty and awareness. Camus rejected both of these responses. He believed that once you fully accept the absurd, once you stop demanding meaning from the world, something unexpected happens. You become free. When life has no pre-written purpose, you are no longer trapped by expectations that were never yours. You no longer have to chase goals simply because they are admired by others. You gain the power to decide what matters through your actions. This is where real motivation begins. Not the fragile kind that depends on praise or visible success, but a deeper form that comes from commitment. When you accept that the boulder will always roll back down, you stop fearing failure. There is no final victory to protect and no ultimate loss to avoid. There is only effort, and effort is always within your control. You stop asking whether your work will matter someday. You decide that it matters now, because you are the one doing it. You stop waiting for perfect conditions or external validation. You act with intensity because action itself becomes meaningful. Struggle begins to change its shape. Difficulty is no longer proof that something is wrong. It becomes evidence that you are engaged with life. Resistance becomes training. Fatigue becomes a signal of growth. Boredom becomes a test of discipline. Instead of breaking you, the absurd sharpens you. This mindset is what Camus called revolt. Revolt is not anger or chaos. It is the daily decision to continue, fully aware of the difficulty, without resentment. It is saying yes to life without demanding that it be easy or fair. Each time you show up and give honest effort, you assert your will in a world that does not care. That is strength. The modern world misunderstands this kind of strength. It celebrates comfort, speed, and outcomes. It encourages you to avoid discomfort and chase constant stimulation. But a life without resistance is a life without depth. Comfort weakens resilience. Ease dulls awareness. Growth requires pressure. Think about the moments that shaped you the most. They were not periods of comfort or ease. They were times when you were tested, when quitting would have been understandable, but you continued anyway. Those moments built your character far more than success ever could. The boulder is not an obstacle blocking your life. It is the space where your character is formed. Every push is a decision. Every step upward is a choice to participate rather than withdraw. You are not defined by how far the stone moves. You are defined by the fact that you place your hands against it again. This is why Camus said we must imagine Sisyphus happy, not because he enjoys the task, but because his awareness transforms it. He knows exactly what awaits him, and yet he continues. The outcome is out of his control, but his response is not. Most suffering comes from living only for completion. You endure the present so you can escape into a future moment that never quite arrives. You live for weekends, milestones, or distant relief. But if happiness only exists at the finish line, then most of life will feel like waiting. There is no arrival point where effort ends. There is only the process. Mastery is not a destination. It is a way of living. It is choosing to engage fully with what is in front of you, regardless of recognition or reward. When you understand this, repetition becomes refinement. Each repetition strengthens skill. Each repetition reinforces identity. Each repetition is proof that you are still choosing to participate. Meaning is not discovered somewhere outside of you. It is built through disciplined effort, applied consciously, day after day. This is how the absurd stops being a burden and becomes a source of power. To live this philosophy, you must step out of the version of yourself that exists only to meet expectations. From an early age, you are taught to follow paths laid out by others. Study this, chase that, want these things. Over time, you begin pushing struggles that are not truly yours. You spend energy climbing hills that lead to destinations you never chose. Society rewards obedience more than authenticity. It favors predictability, comfort, and surface-level success. The cost of this is quiet but severe. You lose connection with your instincts. You forget what effort feels meaningful. You become efficient, but empty. When you allow the crowd to define your values, you disappear into it. Living by borrowed standards drains your sense of direction. To live fully, you must be willing to stand apart. This requires courage, because clarity often comes with solitude. But without that separation, there is no real ownership of your life. This begins with radical honesty. You must examine why you do what you do. Not the explanations you give publicly, but the reasons you admit privately. Are you working towards something because it matters to you? Or because you are afraid of judgment? Are you busy because you are disciplined? Or because you are avoiding stillness? These questions are uncomfortable, but avoiding them costs more in the long run. You must confront the parts of yourself you would rather ignore. The fear, the laziness, the hunger for approval, the desire for control. These traits do not disappear when ignored. They shape your choices from the background. When you face them directly, they lose their power over you and become tools rather than weaknesses. Waiting for the future to begin living is another form of surrender. The idea of later keeps you passive. Life does not open up at some distant moment. It happens now, in the effort you give today. This moment is the only place where action is possible. If you want a different life, you do not need endless new goals. You need a different relationship with effort. The quality of your life is directly connected to the quality of the struggles you are willing to accept. The first step is choosing your boulder. Not every struggle deserves your energy. Many people exhaust themselves pushing stones that belong to other people's expectations. Ask yourself what challenge you would willingly accept, even if no one ever praised you for it. That answer points toward a life with integrity. The second step is committing to steady improvement. Real progress is built through small, repeated actions. One step forward, one honest effort, 1% better. When you focus on the next action instead of the entire mountain, consistency becomes possible. The third step is learning to accept and use difficulty. Every setback, every failure, every moment where progress collapses is part of the process. Instead of resisting these moments, you treat them as instruction. Difficulty becomes refinement rather than discouragement. The fourth step is embracing solitude. Without space away from noise and distraction, you cannot hear your own values. Solitude allows clarity to emerge. It reveals whether you are living deliberately or reacting unconsciously. The fifth step is creating a personal code. In a world without fixed meaning, your principles become your foundation. Decide how you act when no one is watching. Decide what you will not compromise. This code stabilizes you when motivation fades. The story of Sisyphus is only tragic if he pushes the boulder with resentment. When he accepts his task fully, without false hope or bitterness, he transforms it. The gods control the outcome, but they cannot control his commitment. You have the same choice. Your life may be repetitive. Your effort may go unnoticed. Progress may feel slow. None of this removes the value of what you are doing. What matters is that you continue consciously. Life is not waiting beyond the struggle. It is happening within it. The climb itself is where strength is built. The boulder is there again. The path has not changed. The effort is required once more, but this time you move with awareness. Push the stone because you choose to. And in that choice, imagine yourself at peace.